Hello, gorgeous. I feel really excited to share a little bit more about my journey with plants and especially my journey with realizing how plants communicate with us. So bear with me here because I think this is revolutionary knowledge that all of us need to hear and especially need to start embodying. Because if I can do it, you can do it. The whole world can do it. Anyway, just saying, there is different angles how we can get in the information from plants. Obviously, and I think the most logical is we read books or we Google it and we get the whole information about them. And that's really gorgeous because we can tap into the knowledge many other people have done before us and have dove into getting into the nitty-gritty of what is going on. And then we also have the opportunity just to go into nature and look at the plants. So this is, I think, for me, in my opinion, we need to combine these worlds. Since the knowledge and the books is very easy and easily understood, I would like to talk about the other, not saying and one is more important than the other, but I just try and say here that there is a disbalance in this world where we trust too much just in the books and the knowledge that is already written, as in also science, and we forget that there is also an ancient tradition and an ancient way of how people used to drop into. And I think it's really important that we're not just pushing that under the rug, but we're actually bringing that back so we can combine these two worlds together and through this create a more aligned path forward. So, the part that I would like to speak about is that we have the ability to connect with plants directly to get knowledge and information about it. So this has a lot to do with our sensations, our feeling, intuition, and our being able to connect and surrender into this deep innate wisdom. So a big part about that is letting go of all the pre-constructed ideas we already have, letting go of everything that we thought we knew, and going in there as if you're a child for the first time, standing in front of nature and the plant world, and really for the first time looking at something. And this is as simple as that, connecting first with our sensations. We're a big fan of our sensations, our smell, hearing, eyes, skin. And I feel like I forgot one, but that's okay. So we can stand in front of a plant and we can observe them. And just through observing, we can already learn so much. And I know that might sound very woohoo, but I'm like, this is so tangible and so easy to do. So what if you're looking at the plant, look at the color, the form it has, look at how it grows. Where does it grow? Does it grow inside the forest? Does it grow out on a meadow? Is there anything in proximity next to it? Something along those lines. And then just also feel that's just the observation part with your sensations. But then also feel, how do you feel with this plant? Does it make you happy, sad? Does any memories come up? Because yes, everything we look at in our surroundings, there is memories that can come up. So also be aware of that and just have a look how what kind of information you already are getting simply through this, because plants have this ability to speak to us in silence and in this stillness, this which is in between, which we often don't think about, which we think is not important, but let me tell you, this is exactly where we can learn so much. So in this in between, in this stillness, feel this. And then I think it's this intuitive feeling as well. Intuitive feeling, what is the message this plant has for me? And please, very important here, not every plant we see we can eat. There is literally some that are poisonous and toxic for us out there. There is others that we just can't really digest. So when I'm saying we can learn about from the plant world, what is also really important here to say is that we don't you just have to think about ingesting these plants, like as in drink a tea or eat them, that only this counts because no, for example, a tree, a tree is teaching us a lot about stability and stamina in life, as well as the importance of letting go, because it sheds its leaf once a year, everything drops, and it literally rebuilds itself from scratch the next year. I mean, from scratch is a little bit overrated because the roots are staying, obviously, and the tree trunk. But this is the same. We can shed our skin, we can shed our clothes, and literally put on new clothes when we go through a big upgrade and we change ourselves. So trees can teach us about that. So here the message is more in standing around them or being around them or touching them and observing them can give you the transmission of exactly this, whereas it's not about having to eat a tree. So this is just an example I'm trying to make here to make it easier. If we have a plant, by the way, one that is very easy and simple, and I think grows nearly everywhere around the world, is dandelion. So I would like to use that as an example because I think it's a very underrated plant and it's so potent and powerful in everything. By the way, dandelion is a plant you can eat. Every single part of the plant is edible, from the roots until all the leaves. I would say maybe the seeds that would not taste the best. I mean, like this fluffy thing. But everything, you can eat it. So if we look at a dandelion, first of all, they have very gorgeous, big yellow flowers. And if they're blooming, that is quite an eyesight. So dandelion by itself, it connects us to the sun energy. It does actually, the flower part actually looks like a sun. So it connects us to the sun energy. And it also helps us to bring the inner sun. Everything that is usually that is yellow, we can just say, I'm just making a stereotypical sentence here. There's always things that follow the exception, not follow the exception. That are also exceptions of that. But usually something that is yellow and quite like big is connecting us to the inner sun. Additionally to that, dandelion grows everywhere and it grows in quite an abundance, right? So this thing, it has a lot of perseverance and persistence. It grows even in like streets, like concrete streets, not concrete. Yeah, the material that streets are made of. It can even grow out of cracks of that. So the roots of dandelion help us to find the stability and the groundedness within ourselves. So that is a gorgeous tea to drink. Whereas a lot of the rest of the plant, because it grows in such an abundance, it's actually a plant that we can also eat in abundance. It's very bitter, so it helps us with digestion and it helps us just to also accept the bitterness in life and continue with that. So I'll leave it there, but just so you see, every single part of a plant can teach you something. So it's a lot about the observation and the feeling around it. So if you're standing in front of the dandelion, you might feel a little bit different to what I've just described. And that's exactly where the individuality comes in, because plants usually have this innate knowing, and yes, plants are conscious beings, sentient beings, I think, sentient beings. So they know what it is that you need, and you yourself also know what you need, even though you might not be aware of that. Don't underestimate that underneath everything, you actually know what you need. Therefore, when you stand in front of a plant and you feel a certain way, that's often the message the plant is actually giving you and how it is going to support you in your life. So don't underestimate the power of that. So this can be very different from one person to another, and it's still so important. So that's why a generalized text somewhere on the internet is only ever going to give you a certain aspect of the truth for yourself, because your truth is going to be very individual. And let me tell you, we are going towards a part in our existence where it's so much going to be about discovering and living your truth and not following someone else's. The time of solemnly teachers being out there to teach you how to follow, it's done. It will function for a little bit while longer, but then it's done. We need to start stepping into our authentic truth, into our existence, and continue like that. So plants here are such a gorgeous, amazing reminder of that and a support, because plants innately, I think I would say most plants, except obviously if they're toxic and poisonous, they are here to support us as humanity. And we've forgotten about that. I mean, how many out there that are listening to this, how many of you actually have tried and eaten dandelion before? I mean, don't get me wrong, if you have, I celebrate you to the max. And still, I have to say, if you're looking and at the society as a whole, especially the Western society, we have completely forgotten all of the gorgeous, amazing plants that are growing out there. And how simple would it be? Instead of going into a supermarket to buy salads to eat, we would go out there and learn how we can actually eat the plants from our soil, from our meadows. Because let me tell you, the salads that we get in the supermarket usually don't really have a lot of vitamins and minerals anymore because they're often, especially if they're not organic, they're just overbred. Like this starts with the seed. The seed is overbred. There's nothing in it anymore. So we need to go back to learning to connect with nature. And that's another point because this is not what the society that wants to sustain itself in the way it is right now, what it wants, because if we all started collecting things and growing things ourselves, we also would need to buy less. So don't forget about that. So basically, I just want to mention here, this is not new what I'm talking about. This is not like new age spiritual shit. This is ancient rooted wisdom that often has been forgotten. That we through also, I mean, Europe, we also had colonization happening. We also got overruled by an indoctrination and a religion that wasn't ours. So our roots and our belief systems got overwritten. A lot of the I mean, a lot of the knowledge back then wasn't actually written in books. It was just transmitted through stories. But then the stories weren't allowed to be told anymore. I'm talking about Germanistic, Helvetianer, I can't pronounce that in English, and Celtic. A lot of the knowledge wasn't written down or if it got destroyed. So it's about taking back that which is actually our roots. And we can get inspired, obviously, from all these gorgeous plants all over the world where the knowledge wasn't destroyed. I'm talking here about the Mayan culture, which is big on cacao. I'm talking about Egyptian mythology, which I'm also working on, which was big on Blue Lotus. Actually, a lot of that knowledge has also gone, so scratch that. Or Ayurveda from India. But we can use that as an inspiration. But then I think it's about bringing it back and like really discovering what is it that grows here and what messages and wisdom can I get from here. So I'll leave it at that because this is just gonna be a little introduction and a little something to tell you, hey, this is something you can do. Start with something small. Go into your garden if you're living in the city like me right now. Go and find a park or a meadow that feels natural, not just that there is grass, and just connect with any plant, like even the little daisies or something, and just have a look what that feels like. And if you want to, you can go back home afterwards and look in the internet for all the knowledge and the mind facts and see maybe you actually, the way you felt around this plant, you were right. I'm super curious, so please like and subscribe and let me know in the comments which plant you connected, what was your takeaway, and what are you going to change from this moment forward in your connection with plants. So have a lovely day. Bye bye.